Yo, it's that time. Get ready to unwind with Jillian on the mic. The best you'll find. Pop that cork. Let's start to chat on the Polywine Podcast, where it's all that. Join the crew as we dive into the scene.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Polywine, where we'd like to take a deep dive into stories pulled from the media and have a fun time while breaking it down. I'm Jillian, and let's get into it. Well, we had an unexpected break last week, but I am here. I am back to get you through the holidays, and let's jump into it, shall we? We've had some pretty heavy events that have happened in the last several days. So let's get into it, shall we? And let's work our way over to Australia. And Australia, my heart is breaking for you. The tragedy and horror that you endured on Saturday on Bondi Beach, just unimaginable, horrific, tragic. And I am so sorry that you had to experience that. There were many people there to show up for a festival to kick off the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah, and two shooters emerged from the crowd and just started shooting at randomly into the crowd, killing 15 and injuring more than 40. Some information is still coming out. Two shooters, one was killed by law enforcement. The other one was shot and has been captured. It is just awful, unimaginable. And I hate to keep saying that, but I am almost at a loss for words. My heart just is going out to my deepest condolences and sympathies. The fear and those people that were fleeing for their life, those who were trying to help, those who have been injured, the act of courage and heroism from some, that gentleman that jumped on the back of the shooter and ripped the gun from him and disarmed him. What a hero. There was footage of this couple that was trying to disarm one of the shooters and ended up falling victim to this crime. It is just, I just want to hug everyone and give you, just put my arms around you and comfort you. I cannot imagine how it has just absolutely rocked your sense of security, how it has just taken the rug out from underneath of you, and just in anything you've ever known of your comfort, your security, your everything that you've just come to know and to love about everything in your community. It's, these gun acts like this seems like such an American thing until it's not. And it is really hard to wrap your mind around why someone would do that. And the Australian officials have said it is definitely an act of terror, that they believe that it was an act against the Jewish community and an act of anti-Semitism. And I don't know what to say other than I am so sorry. So very sorry. But I hope that you guys can all come together stronger as a community, as a country, and fight this. It's just such a shock because Australia has very strict gun laws. And after the tragedy and massacre was it 1999? Was it Port Arthur? They immediately, Australia stood together. They changed laws. They had, they put in action very strict gun laws and restrictions. And so for something like this to happen, when they had the laws and the system in order, it's just such a shock. And I think that's why I'm such alert. It's just such a shock. You just don't think of it there. And they had everything in place to prevent such a crime. And it is just unimaginable. I was emailing with someone earlier who lives in Australia, and I wanted to get their perspective and their feel. And it's fear. It's fear. It's unsettling. And I don't know how you put those pieces back together, how long it takes for you to feel whole and secure again. I don't know. But I just hope that we can be there for you, to provide the comfort you need, whatever aid that you need. And I hope we can all get through this together. It's just awful. These are our friends. These are our allies. Australia. I love the country of Australia, the people there. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. And it's not only do we have what happened in Australia, that tragedy at the hands of gunmen, then we had the tragedy that happened at Brown University here in the U.S. in Providence, Rhode Island, at an Ivy League institution. And we're still getting information trickling out now. This happened Saturday as well. Saturday was a very busy day in news, and it was all terrible, tragic, horrific news. Australia, we heard that first. Then Brown University, a gunman walked in to a building in Brown University full of students that were preparing for exams right before their Christmas break. And it was, from what they've said, a very busy, full building. It was a building at the back of the campus. From what I understand, it was like a library building, and large building full of students and faculty. And a gunman walked in and said something that nobody really could understand or make out what he said, and just randomly started shooting. Right now we have 2 dead, 9 wounded, 7 still in the hospital now, and the police have nothing, really. There is some footage that has been released of a person of interest that has been walking around, that was seen walking around on video, from personal home video from homes, from Ring cameras and things like that, in the residential area right next to the school. So they released some of those footage from a person of interest, but that is all the authorities have right now, is a person of interest, a very short clip of footage. And all they say is this individual was walking around masked and kind of walking in an unusual pattern, slightly erratically, but that is it. And it's really hard to make out any details. This individual has a hat on, a mask on, a coat. It is very hard to see any details. So the police are asking, if for people to look at their ring cam footage and business footage, whatever they have of streets, areas surrounding the campus, of maybe this individual was casing the scene days, hours, weeks before this incident. And maybe they can relate some clues to this person of interest and the way this person, their gait, the way they shift, just anything, because it seems like right now the authorities have very little information and almost nothing to go on, which is so unfortunate and disheartening and shocking. And as we're getting some details that is coming out about this incident at Brown, this is what is upsetting, is that it's about the footage. The authorities are asking for assistance from the community. If they have any police or any camera footage of residential, business footage, anything to go through, because the cameras on the campus really don't have anything that's of any credible evidence right now. That's what has come out in the news. And in the press conference earlier today, some information was coming out that I guess in the building where this incident happened, this shooting, this massacre of these students, is that there was an older section of the building in the back of the building, and then there was a newer section of the building in the front of the building. The front of the building and the newer section had cameras. The back of the building, which is the older portion of the building, which is in the back of the campus closest to the residents. This is what was being said in the press conference today. And I guess that older portion of the building had very little cameras, if any. This is what somebody in the press conference said, had very few cameras, if any. I'm like, if any? What do you mean, if any? Like, you know if there's any cameras, and if any, and why would there be little or if any cameras on a college campus? Like, why is there not videos, footage everywhere of doors, this, that? I mean, of every inch. There should be zoom in, zoom out. There should be cameras at the door. I do not understand how there is such little security at this Ivy League university. It is shocking. And I'm telling you, if this is truly what's going to come out, is that there was very little security cameras or security and camera footage. This is going to be, I think, a major issue for the university. And this is going to be a problem. I mean, I hear lawsuits coming, because how do you provide security to these students if you don't even have cameras like in the building? Now, they said little, if any. That was the verbiage that was used in the press conference today, where you had the police chief, you had the mayor of Providence, you had some of the FBI, you had the DA. They were all giving, and the president of Brown, which I was very shocked that there were so little questions for the president of Brown, because this is the first I was hearing from the president and any a Brown. And I was very shocked that they only had a few questions that they had asked the president of the university, because you would think that, I don't know, I was absolutely floored. They were asking about protocol. What was the emergency? Is the campus secure? Is the campus cleared? She was saying that, yes, they are trying to clear out the campus. Everybody has been excused for the holiday break, but there is faculty there. There's international students that are there, and they will remain on campus during the holidays. So it is still an open campus. But, you know, what about security? What were the protocols for security and in lockdown? Like that, these are some of the questions that came out. What were some of the information that the police could give to the public? And it was really hard to hear the questions from the media. Very difficult to hear their questions. But there was one journalist that had asked, well, why would a university that has like a multi-million-dollar endowment not have security cameras? Like, what is that? And yeah, that seems like negligence. If that is the case, we will find out. Of course, they had said that in one of a story earlier today, I think they were saying there's like 1,200 cameras on the campus as a whole, but it seemed like this particular area was not well covered with footage and cameras. So it does seem like there was a plan. It does seem like this shooter knew that there wasn't a lot of video coverage on this. We have no idea, but for them to pick that spot, that they knew that there was going to be a heavy presence of students, that there wasn't a lot of camera footage. It seems like there was intent, that not just a sporadic act, in my opinion. But what is shocking is that we have nothing, no information, no details And in this press conference today, I don't know if it was the same journalist or another journalist that was really had good questions. And the question was, where, if the public has any information, who do they call? Where do they call? And the mayor was giving some of that information out. And then the journalist says, can you guarantee the public that if they call, and this is what I was understanding, like I said, it was difficult to hear the questions that the media was asking law enforcement. And like I said, that was the police chief, the FBI, the DA, the president of the university, and others. And he said, can you guarantee the public that if they call this number for information that you are asking for and provide that assistance to law enforcement, can you guarantee that ICE will not show up? And the mayor's response was, well, we really work hard within the community to build that trust. And the journalist asked again and kind of hammered it again, can you guarantee the public that ICE isn't going to show up? And I was like, that's a fair question, because what's happening right now, I think you need to put that security out there to the public, because if you are asking for their help, are they going to be willing to help you? Because you never know who could show up, because if somebody with a name that ICE might be a little curious about, you don't want that to be, for that repercussion to happen to somebody who's just trying to assist and to help out the community. You don't want that. And then from what I thought I heard, and I think this is what I heard, and please correct me if I'm wrong, then there was a follow-up because they were showing the video of this person of interest walking. And again, this individual, hat, mask, jacket, and they're like, do you know if this isn't an ICE agent? Unidentifiable, not really marked well. Could this be an ICE agent? Because it looks like nobody's around him and avoiding. Could this be an ICE agent? That's a fair question too. I was like, we have nothing to go on, but they are asking for people in the community, people with cameras in Teslas, in their car, video footage. Some people have dash cam cameras, anything to go through their footage, and if they could help the law enforcement, because it sounds like they have nothing to go on, and the community, the victims, and everyone affected needs some type of answers, and it needs some peace of mind that they're safe in their community, because you don't know, they have nothing. So they don't know if this individual that they're looking for, or the suspect, or whomever this shooter could be, they don't know if they're still in the city, in the community. They don't know if there's surrounding states. And then that was another question. Have you expanded your search? Are you in the surrounding states around Rhode Island? And the police chief said, yes, we are working with Massachusetts. And then another journalist asked, could this case have any connection with the MIT professor who was shot in Massachusetts? I'm like, wait, what? There was a professor at MIT that was shot? Yes, I guess there was a 47-year-old professor at MIT that was shot in his home and murdered, and they have no suspects right now. So, the journalists were asking, do you think that there could be a link? Because this could be random, but this was a murder, a homicide, and they have no suspects. So could this be a link? This is another prestigious university. It's only about an hour away from Brown. And what's going on? And nothing. And this is another fault for Brown. If they don't have any cameras that can provide any detail to give to the police, that can give to the community, that can help it out, you are putting everyone at risk because there's this individual is out on the loose, right? So there is that tragedy to those young students. And there was this one, I mean, just the side stories that come out of this major event. And one that was just, to use the word unimaginable again, is, and just very upsetting, is that there was a student at Brown University that was also a student at Parkland when there was a shooting there, when there was a mass shooting at that school. So this individual has lived through 2 mass shootings. Unbelievable. What is happening in our society, and how are we allowing this to happen here, anywhere, and especially to our children in school? It's, I mean, what are we going to do? When is enough enough? When are we going to say that it is time to take action and we have to make a change in the law now, today? Okay? This is happening too much. And it's very hard to keep continuing to talk about these stories over and over and over. And like I said, these mass shootings seems like such an American story until it's not, because we're seeing it happen all over. And then we had the incident in Syria where 2 soldiers were shot and an American interpreter, and ISIS, they claimed that was their action. And so we had that act of violence. Then authorities in California said that they unfoiled a plot for a major bombing attack that was supposed to happen on New Year's Eve in California. They unfoiled that. Thank goodness. In Germany, authorities there said that they unfoiled a major a terrorist attack that they thought was going to happen there at a Christmas market. What is going on? These are the holidays. These are times to be joyful and be around our loved ones and give thanks and be happy. And we are just dealing with one horrific tragedy after another. It is a lot to process. And just when the shock kind of settles, and the gravity of what just happened kinds to nest in, something else with just as much impact kind of just takes you off guard again. And it's, where do we go from here? It is just too much. And then, gosh, I'm so sorry to have one terrible story after another, but this is what has happened in the last several days. Then we go to California. We had oh my God, the horrible, horrible murders of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle. Oh my God, just terrible. The police have their 32-year-old son, Nick Reiner, in custody. Today, he was charged. Charges were issued by the prosecutor. He was charged with first-degree murder of both parents and the use of a deadly weapon. Those charges could potentially carry a sentence of life in prison or the death penalty. He will have his day in court. We do not know what he is declaring, if he's declaring himself guilty, not guilty. We don't know what his plea is. Interesting. We do know who his defense attorney is, and that is the powerhouse attorney who we have spoke of very fondly in the past. Yes, the main man, Mr. Alan Jackson. We talked about him a lot with the Karen Reed's case in Massachusetts. He's a very high-profile attorney, And yeah, that is who is going to be the defense attorney for Nick Reiner. And very good attorney, very good attorney. But right now, we do not know what that plea is. We have no idea. Guilty, not guilty. From what we know now, he had not been medically cleared. So I guess the DA said that was a standard process. Anybody who goes to jail and in that court system gets medically cleared. He needs to be medically cleared. I think they also have to have a psychiatric evaluation. I think they're doing all of that right now before they can issue their plea. That's from what I understand. But these are just charges. We do not know what his plea is, but every innocent until proven guilty, and everyone has their day in court. But when you hear just the details it's slowly coming out, and just when you're like, God, it can't get worse, it seems to get more awful. It really does. So what we know now, and we don't know a lot, and there's an investigation going on, and so I'm sure they're keeping some of the details close to the vest for the investigation. But some of the details leading up to the event, there has been many years of substance abuse with his son, Nick, for many, many years. This has been well known. There was a movie that Rob Reiner and his son did years ago that was kind of based about struggles of addiction and substance abuse. It was kind of based loosely on his son's, Nick's, life and his struggles, if you will. So this is very well known, and Nick has talked about it in the past. We've heard interviews that are resurfacing when he's talking about his struggles with substance abuse. And so we know that has been there, but I guess Saturday evening, there was a holiday party at Conan and O'Brien's. And poor Conan O'Brien, it's so unfortunate that you have to be brought into the news for this, but I guess he has an annual Christmas party, and there was a large party there, celebrate the holidays. And at this party, Rob Reiner, his wife were there, and I guess the son, Nick, was there. And according to guests there, the son was acting quite erratically, asking peculiar questions and just acting bizarre. And there was a heated exchange between the dad, or the mom and the dad, and the son. And nobody knows what was said in this altercation, but there was it sounds like a verbal exchange, that there was an argument. And as a result, Rob Reiner and the wife left. I don't know if the son went, but this is the information that is coming out, online, in news outlets. This is what we're getting, and some of the information that's come out from the authorities. So they left the party, and from what we understand is that they had went home. I guess Rob Reiner's daughter, I think she lives across the street, and had gone across the street to go to the parents' house, and she had found her parents and called the police. And when the police arrived, from what we understand, they said it was a very violent scene, horrific. But what we understand from when the police arrived, it seemed like they had been deceased for several hours, but it was a manhunt went on. The daughter who found the parents had said that she felt that the brother could be dangerous and might be somebody of interest, and could be a person of suspect potentially. So, but he could be dangerous. So immediately there was a manhunt for the brother, and hours later they found him. And it's a mess. It is a mess, but awful. And we are getting some details. It sounds messy. It sounds very violent. The poor parents. I mean, Hollywood is reeling and just devastated and distraught by this tragedy. I mean, to do that to two parents. I mean, we just recently have had this whole resurgence of the Menendez case. And I think one of the interests that kind of kept that case in the public eye for so long, because it was just so unthinkable for these kids to go in and so viciously and brutally and savagely murder their parents. And it was just so shocking. And I think this is what is so shocking here too. Rob Reiner and his wife were so beloved in Hollywood. Not only was he an icon and legend, yes, of course we say that so many, and we've said it a lot recently because we've lost some legends in the entertainment world, but he really was. I mean, he grew up in Hollywood, in the entertainment world. He comes from an entertainment legacy. His dad, he has hit some of the major markers of generations of movies and shows that have changed the entertainment. So he has just been such a pillar and blueprint of the entertainment world, on stage, behind stage, director, some of the greatest movies of our time. A Few Good Men, When Harry Met Sally, just to name a few. There's so many. But just a shock. We heard that Billy Crystal and Larry David, as soon as the police showed up, they were there on scene. I think they just were in disbelief that this could have happened. They just, they probably thought, oh my God, there's no way this can't be. I just want to go make sure that this can't be. And then to find out that happened to their best friend, from what I have heard in news outlet, Bill has been just unconsolable, just heartbreaking. He was loved by so many. He was an activist. It is heartfelt. Prayers and thoughts are going to the family and to Hollywood. It's just such a shock. And for this to happen after such just a totally destructive and tragic weekend, and then for Trump to say the dismissive and despicable things about Rob Reiner, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I mean, that's saying something. Not a lot shocks me when it comes to Trump and the things that come out of his mouth, but to be so hateful towards a man who was just viciously slain in his home with his wife, I mean, that is an ultimate low. And he's getting a lot of backlash from everyone. And it's not just the Democrats that are condemning these hateful statements. It's also the Republicans, and it's people around him. Like, no, you need to walk that back. That is hateful, and you need to correct that. And nope, I don't want to say double down. He went in harder and he went in deeper, and he continued to spew more despicable things. And I can't. It's a new low. It is a new low. What is happening with Trump? And look, I'm not trying to jump on this bandwagon that he's in cognitive decline. Trust me, there's been a lot of that conversation coming out in the media circuits, online. That conversation's coming up. Is he still competent? That was never my question, but something is off. Okay. I don't want to say that. I'm not a medical professional, but I want to say something is off. He's just all over the place. It is erratic. It is erratic. I don't want to say unhinged, but it does seem a little unhinged. And look, to the White House press, like you need to go on some serious cleanup control. You need to clean up the optics here. It's looking bad. It's looking really bad. And then when you have the Vanity Fair piece coming out from the chief of staff, her interview, yeah, those are some pretty strong statements, and it is not a shining reflection of what's happening close within the Trump administration. Yeah, you need to read the Vanity Fair article that just came out with the interview from the chief of staff. It is an interesting read, and some of the comments are quite jarring to know that that is the conversation, and those are the statements that are being said directly in the sphere of the administration of power. This really is a difficult week. We still have the boat strikes happening off the coast of Venezuela. On the last episode, we actually were discussing then the whole debacle with the second boat strike and the legalities about that from that whole, was it the September 2nd incident? That's what we were talking about. Well, we still have not seen the video of that second strike. We were told that we would get that would be released to the public. Now, Pete Hegseth said he's only going to release that second footage to a few members of Congress, so now they're backpedaling on that. So, and we had, I think, 3 more strikes in the last several days. So that's ramping up. It has just been madness. And then we get information today that Trump's going to speak tomorrow night, have a live speech. We don't know why they did not release what the speech was going to be about. We really have no idea what it is going to be on. So go figure. It has just been one thing to try and catch after another this week. And it's a lot. And we're still fighting about the ballroom. Yes. So remember the ballroom torn down. We see the construction everywhere, the large crane. Well, it's still there. Nothing is happening. It's been halted. Remember, Trump fires the first crew that was working on it. They hired a new one. Now, all at a stop for now. And the National Trust for Historic Preservation has sued the Trump administration and has taken them to D.C. court for basically not getting the approval that it needed to start the construction. Nothing. And basically, the Trump administration is saying that the president has the authority to make those changes. So the battle continues. It is crazy. So we shall see what happens with the construction of the ballroom when that day in court happens with that case. We will see. So not only that, we have just a few more days left until the DOJ has to start releasing some of the information from the Epstein files. Right, that has to happen by the 19th. So, my goodness, we have the president's going to speak tomorrow. We're still waiting for the Epstein files. We're going to see what happens with the court case when it comes to the ballroom. And we're still waiting for all the information for the Epstein. There has been a little trickle of some more photos. So there has been a little trickle more of photos that have been released from the Epstein estate. So we are getting some more photos, but the DOJ's got a couple days left. So what will we be seeing? And will we find out more information about Ghislaine Maxwell? Did she know more? Let's not forget, she was just interviewed not that long ago and transferred to a lesser security facility. Remember the one with Jen Shaw there and the girl from the Theranos things? And can we just say, Jen Shaw, she's out. She's out. We talk about Bravo on this show every week, and it really is crazy how it weaves its way into mainstream media. We were just talking about Jen Shaw, how she shared that same, what they call it, prison camp with Ghislaine Maxwell there. So there's a link there to what's happening with the Epstein files. Not that she has anything to do with it. She just shared that camp with Ghislaine Maxwell. And again, she may have had no interaction. So there's that scandal. And then we have this upcoming scandal with Mary Cosby. And we have that docu-series on TLC that's dropping on January 1st about Mary Cosby and her church, and kind of, is it like a cult? We've heard these rumors come out before, these allegations that her church is a cult. And yeah, now there's a documentary, and you know TLC is going to do it. So you know I'm going to be watching that because I want to know. And it does not seem like it is going to go well for you, Mary. Mary, you just came back and you were having a great season, and this might derail things, but you know I am definitely going to be watching that docuseries on Mary and her cult. My goodness, but we haven't even touched on the housewives. I wanted to talk about Rachel Zoe joining Beverly Hills. Great addition, but we are going to have to catch up on Bravo, all the other series shows, because we talk so much about politics and what's happening on the global front, because there's just been too many major events that have happened and we have to address. So as we're joining together with friends, family, and loved ones this holiday season, let's just take a moment to remember the things that matter the most. It's love, it's happiness, and be kind to one another. Okay? That's it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Please follow Pollywine on Instagram at PollyWineTime. And please listen to Pollywine wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much and have a great day. We'll see you soon.